Welcome to another episode of Adventurers Wanted. We are the monthly talk show all about the D&D Adventurers League.
Everybody.
Hold on, I've got some echo going on in my headphones. Did that last time too. Great, forgot how to run a show. In case this is your first time tuning in, the Adventurers League is D&D's official play campaign, which means you can start with a level 1 character, take them all the way up to level 20, and you can take them to any table that plays D&D Adventurers League, whether that is in a group, playing at home, at a friendly local game store, or even a convention, or any event happening anywhere around the world. I am one of your hosts, Lisa Chen. I am one of the community managers of the Adventurers League, and we have another one of my fellow admins, Alan.
Hi, I'm also a community manager, or whatever the title is this week.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Our guest a little bit later after our announcements is Amy DeZura, our newest admin. Very excited to chat with her so everyone can learn a little bit more about her. But this leads really well into our first announcement, which is that first, I can officially share that if you haven't guessed already from how active she has been on our social media platforms, that Amy is indeed another community manager, which I'm very excited about. Love working with Amy.
And a damn good one.
Yeah, so good. Thank goodness for her. The other half of that, though, is like, what does that mean for me and Alan? Well, I am staying a community manager, but the rest of our administrators, some of the rest of our administrators, are actually doing a little bit of a switcheroo. Some of you know that Bill Benham, who was our lead resource manager, got absorbed into the main Wizards of the Coast office. Congratulations to him.
Promoted, one of the two.
Absorbed.
Like a gelatinous cube.
Yeah. So the rest of our admins are kind of shuffling roles a little bit. More information on that and who exactly is falling into what role will be coming really soon in the new year, which is, I guess, next week. But definitely keep an eye out for that information. I think it'll probably be coming from Chris Lindsay.
Yes. So we've got some admin Jenga going on, a lot of very cool stuff on the horizon, and we are really, really excited to get chatty about this. We've come close to spilling the beans a couple times. But yeah, long story short, there's some cool stuff out there, and Chris, the big boss, is going to have some words to share with the community soon.
Yeah, behind the scenes has been cray, but exciting.
Yes.
Let's see. So moving along to other changes, Alan, I believe that there's been an update to the content catalog.
Yeah. So we recently pushed out, a couple of weeks back now, we pushed out a pretty meaty update where we announced Adventurers League eligibility for Lost Laboratory of Qualish. And there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Qualish it's like a big funhouse adventure. It's a huge nod to the old Expedition to the Barrier Peaks classic adventure. So there are some sci-fi elements and, in my opinion, Fallout elements with the powered armor and things like that. And it's really cool. We did have to declare the powered armor to be a potentially problematic item, but we allowed the majority of things into campaign play. There's one item that was on my original notes and somehow didn't make it into final document, and that is the Flesh Golem armor. I will spare the overall details, DMs, make sure you read it very carefully, but this is armor that is campaign appropriate. It'll be located on table G, and we will have that in the next version going forward. There are some other things that we added in there. Like usual, there were a ton of CCC adventures. There's some clarifications and things, and I'm going to be looking at ways to sort of strip that document down a little bit, make it a little easier for people to follow. It is pretty meaty. I mean, we've got our season 0 content, we've got our author-only content, we've got 8 storyline seasons, we've got, I think the last count was like 180 CCCs in there or something crazy. It's a lot to mow through, and I want to keep pressing to find ways to make that easier for folks to follow along.
Awesome. The content catalog is such a useful resource. Definitely check it out. Read it carefully, folks. So moving along, we are in the last few days of our current Adventurers League holiday, which is Midwinter. Throughout the month, we've been giving away little gifts, usually one a week. So if you haven't already, go to dndadventurersleague.org and check out some of our recent blog posts. They're hidden in there. Not too hidden. The titles call out Midwinter, so look out for that. If you haven't already, one of the activities to do was to send in to community@dndadventurersleague.org an image from any time in 2018 of your Adventurers League group or groups. And if you do that, I have been emailing you back another Midwinter gift just for those folks participating. So there is still a chance to get that up until midnight on New Year's Eve. So send in your pictures if you haven't already.
Yes. Now, bear in mind, one thing I do want to mention with this, I've had a couple of folks in the community get a hold of me. By giving us your photo, you acknowledge that we reserve the right and the ability to actually publish that photo on the website as part of a collage or something at a later time.
Yes.
That is something we'd really like to do. We want to show people having a good time and getting involved in the community. If you are dead set against that, you need to indicate that in your email to us. The understanding is that we're almost certainly going to publish your photo on the website. Just want to make sure that people understand that as we move forward.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Alan. It is our social media pages, our website, possibly like in a little permanent, semi-permanent spot on the website, or in a slideshow that we will be putting together at the end of the year.
I see you have a cat joining you today.
Yeah, I've got two cats who are like circling me like sharks. Like, when will we disrupt her stream? Their little tails like a shark fin. Let's see. The last announcement I have here on our list is for everybody to keep an eye out for our Facebook page in the new year. So right now what happens is when we have some sort of major announcement, we go into our Adventurers League group and then also our DM discussions group. We usually post the announcements in both places, and there's comment threads in both places. It kind of gets sorted in with the other discussions and posts, as just that's how groups work. So we wanted to make it a little bit easier for people to have a central place to find all of the announcements. So we are creating an official Facebook page. Announcements will be posted to that and then pushed to the different groups. So we will start using that in the new year. So again, next week. So keep an eye out for our first announcements. So you can follow that page, and I would recommend following it. And then there's like a way to make sure you turn on notifications, or that I'm forgetting, maybe Alan, there's some setting to make sure that those notifications hit your feed.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the major draws to moving to the Facebook page format rather than the group format, the pages you don't actually need to sign up to view. So anyone without a Facebook account can actually hit that URL and see what the recent announcements are. If they have an account, they can follow it and ensure that they get those, the notifications pop up or otherwise when new topics are posted by the admin team. Other discussions can and still will happen, but they aren't going to be in the main feed. So the main feed is intended as a method for us to deliver that information, or if there are really cool things that have popped up from community point of view, we can rebroadcast that in a channeled way so that everyone can see what is immediately important and impactful to your ongoing game experience. One of the big things here for me was making the information more easily available. And really, I just want to stress again, that you won't need a Facebook account in order to see what the most recent announcements happen to be. With our format that we currently have, those are private groups, so you do need an account because that stuff is closed off. It puts barriers up in front of the information, and we actively want to tear those barriers down. D&D is for everybody, and we want to make sure that all that information is as available as possible.
That's a really good point, Alan. I know there's a lot of folks, especially like the Twitter crowd, although we post announcements there too, who are like, well, why do a lot of the major announcements get the most detail and posts on Facebook in the groups? So having those more available to everybody is great.
D&D rules rarely fit into a tweet, so...
Yeah, tweets are hard. Those limited characters. All right, so moving along to new adventures. The next round of adventures coming out, I believe, is the Skullport Shakedown. Which, let me see, I left the list up. That's a DDAL 08-11 through 13, Poisoned Words, Xanathar's Wrath, and The Vampire. Nope, just kidding, missed one, The Skull Square Murders. And those are premiering at Role Play Rally, January 5th through 6th in Austin, Texas. Now, our website has those as releasing on the DMs Guild on Tuesday, the first Tuesday in January, well, January 8th. And that's totally on me, honestly. So I guess historically we don't have adventures releasing in January because of like holidays and New Year and all of that transition. This was my first year as admin, so I didn't realize that when I made the page. So actually, these adventures will be premiering in February. We will get the website updated as soon as possible. I'm sorry, organizers. I know that it is a pain when you some of you schedule your games out quite far. So I apologize for that, but we will get that as fixed as possible. It's newbie mistakes. And in fact, well, I say newbie mistakes, but it's actually Amy who caught that mistake. So thank you again. Thank you, Amy.
Something that may make that a little bit easier too, sort of hand in hand. About a week ago, I marked down a whole bunch of my older content to $1. So if you want to fill your January game void with some stuff that I've written or the last couple of years, dive in. Most of my back catalog is $1 a shot right now, including the Caius stuff. I've got a third Caius adventure dropping next week. So
start your 2019 on a traumatizing note. Buy some of Alan's content for $1. All right, so there is a CCC that just got released. CCC, Community Created Content. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Adventurers League, that is one way for our community to get to write quote-unquote AL legal adventures. They do it as part of the CCC program, usually paired with a convention or event. There are some cases when it's been some sort of other event. And they get to write an adventure within certain rules and everything. But the one I want to call out is CCC-APL-01-01. The name is It's Not Easy Being Jean. And I want to call this out because this module is dedicated to a former member of the Adventurers League community, Cambria McDaniel. And she played with her group, with her brother, the entire Storm King Thunder's hardcover, the Tier 1 through Tier 3 modules over the course of a year, I think over a year, enjoying every minute of it. While she did this, this young woman was also battling lymphoma and unfortunately did die of lymphoma. So this adventure is in memory of her. It includes her character as an NPC from that adventuring campaign, Glass the Barbarian. And the author is donating all of the proceeds to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of America. Before the adventure was published, they'd raised $800 already. So your proceeds from the, gosh, $5, $4.99 small price tag, that all gets donated to this awesome cause as well. So that is a really cool adventure. I know the dedication is sad, and gosh, when they messaged me about it, I definitely shed a tear for Cambria. But the adventure itself is really lighthearted, really fun. I've heard good things about it, so please check out It's Not Easy Being Jean.
Yes. It's for a great community cause. It's always a shame to see things like that happen, and research is ongoing, so let's all band together and do what we can.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so moving along, I want to shout out some events before we chat with Amy. So coming up in January 11th through 13th is OhioCon, spelled OHAYO Con, happening in Columbus, Ohio. You can find them on Warhorn. This is actually the first year that this con is going to have an official Adventurers League space, and they are premiering 2 CCC adventures. So that's very cool. Check them out. January 12th in Medford, New Jersey, which is about 15 minutes from Philadelphia. They at a store called Gamers Vault. They are running the Open Gangs of Waterdeep, and they will have the new version of Fichent's Fantastical Fair, as well as a raffle with all sorts of awesome goodies, like a large map of Waterdeep signed by Mike Schlee. Let's see, and they're also going to be using the raffle to raise money for Extra Life. Last year, we set our goal. Their goal last year was 1,337, so LEET dollars. So let's see if we can beat LEET. And you can also find that event on Warhorn. Look up Gamers Vault. Let's see, February 10th, Donations and Dragons is throwing an event at Campus Cards and Games 2 in Winter Park, Florida. They are going to be running Reclamation of Flan, one of my favorite past epics, in support of Zebra Coalition. Zebra Coalition provides services for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and all youth, people who are battling homelessness, battling bullying. So that is another really great cause. Speaking of events for amazing causes, another event a little farther out, but they're looking for volunteers now, is the D8 Summit. And that's happening May 3rd through 5th in North Utica, Illinois. You can find them on tabletop.events. But this is an amazing event that benefits homeless shelters. And they are looking for volunteers right now. So if you are interested in volunteering, being part of a really fun event, being part of a really good cause, check out the D8 Summit.
Another thing that I want to mention about D8 Summit is it's a really good opportunity to connect with authors. CCC authors and AL authors and all sorts of people will be there. It's not one of our official presence shows, but they are super eager about getting as many contributing elements of the Adventurers League into their event as they can. And yeah, I mean, it's a great group. John Connor himself is one of the driving forces behind it. And he is a light. If you ever get a chance to talk to him at an event, please do walk up, say hi. He's don't let him tell you otherwise, but he's good people.
That's a great transition. Speaking of good people, we have one of the best of people waiting in the wings.
We do.
Yes, we shall reveal Amy, who's been hiding behind our logo. Hello, Amy. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, everyone.
So, Amy, you are one of our newest administrators, joining me as the second half of the community manager team. And you have a doggo in the back.
This is Argos.
Hello, you handsome boy.
Yeah, Argos is affectionately known as the Copper Catastrophe.
Uh-oh.
He's very energetic. He's a Vishla, so he never stops, especially during the day. So he might be in and out, just like your cat, Lisa.
Yeah, my cat is precariously sitting here just ready to flop over onto my keyboard. She's being a good girl. So, Amy, to start us off, tell us a little bit about how you started playing D&D in general, and then how you started playing in the Adventurers League.
So this all pretty much started when my husband and I, now husband, and I moved to Philadelphia. He moved out here for work. I followed a little while later, and being in a new city, wanted to make some new friends. We're like brainstorming, what can we do? And my husband's been playing D&D since middle school. He's like, hey, don't knock it until you've tried it, but would you want to play D&D? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to give this a shot. So we actually went onto the Wizard Store Locator and found that there was going to be a convention fairly soon. It was Philly Games Con. It was super local. We went, I played my first game. I was just absolutely hooked. I had so much fun. And as we were leaving that night, we played 1 4-hour session. We left. I'm like, okay, when do we do this again? So After that, we went back. We found a local game store in Trenton, just outside Trenton, New Jersey, because we were living right on the border between between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Found a store. They had some weekly sessions. Got into it, and it's all sort of history since then.
That's awesome. Do you remember what your first character was?
My first character was a pre-gen at that very first session. She was a barbarian, I believe. Not really my style. My first long-term campaign character was a Wood Elf Druid.
Oh, very different.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, hitting things with sticks is not quite my style.
It's a good, I feel like barbarian's a good entry class, though. Then you can focus on hitting stuff with sticks. Yeah,
exactly.
I appreciate I really like how you're saying that hitting things with sticks is not your style, but your longest rank character is a druid.
She's a moon druid, so she's more of a summon some badgers and then turn into a bear kind of druid.
Hit them with badgers. I like that plan.
Not sticks, badgers.
Badgers, yes. Right. Much more adorable.
Yeah. So you got hooked on D&D right away. How did that kind of transition into you becoming an Adventurers League event organizer?
So I'll be the first person to tell you I'm not really a DM, but I'm really good with a clipboard. So when my husband and we started deciding to try and go to more events, I wanted to help. I didn't always want to play, just depending on our schedule and everything. So my husband would DM, like, okay, what can I do to help? And I think actually the first event that I really admined at was Dragon Con down in Atlanta. We have family down there, so my husband and I were visiting over Labor Day. Okay, we'll go check out the D&D room. And like, well, if you're going to DM, what can I do? And I'm good at answering questions. So I just stood up front at HQ, answer questions, direct players to tables, direct DMs or players to DMs. And that's just sort of how it got started. And that's what I'm good at. I'm not necessarily, I don't have the DM skills yet. I'm working on them, but I'm much better with a clipboard.
You might and not know it. They're secretly there. You just maybe haven't flexed them yet.
I had a lot of fun at Origins. I ran some intro tables, and that was a ton of fun. So we're baby steps.
Very cool.
Well, everyone's got their own DM style too. Some people excel at the high tier stuff. Some people really become rock stars with the low tier stuff. You got the skills.
Yeah.
Well, baby steps. We'll work on them. Me and the intro players, we're all going to learn together.
Excellent.
Now I know in Pennsylvania, earlier this year, there was this really cool AL event in a castle.
Yes.
And did you spearhead that? Did you help organize that?
I helped. I was not the main organizer. That was my friend Paul. He found this amazing, it's called Glencairn Museum. And it's actually it's actually a mansion. People live there in Bryn Athyn, Pennsylvania, so outside of Philadelphia. And it's just got this beautiful space with these huge open floors and beautiful stained glass windows. And Paul did all of the hard work. He talked to the museum staff who were super eager to have us play there. We're looking at possibly hosting something there again in the spring. But we ran the Red War, and it was great.
That's really cool. Awesome. Helping out, were there any differences to while helping out in that sort of space versus helping out at, say, like a convention center?
There was no air conditioning.
Oh God!
Over the summer, I was in my Priestess of Leviatar outfit ensemble, running around. And it was a really gorgeous open space. The DMs started out on the balcony all wearing their red wizard robes. We had a great intro. I think the hardest part was the lack of AC. So if we do anything, we'll hopefully be in the spring where it's going to be a little less crazy.
Oh goodness. That sounds like a struggle. An amazing space, but a little bit of a struggle.
It was worth it.
Yeah. So you've now transitioned from being an event organizer to a community manager. Although hearing you describe your approach to helping and like answering questions and and even like DMing for newbie players, you were really always a community manager at heart, I feel.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been a really good fit.
So how would you describe your approach to community management?
I want to make sure that everyone feels heard in the community. I know there's a lot of voices in the Facebook groups. We've got 28,000 people in the Facebook groups, just as the official group. I know they're all over the internet and Twitter. And I want everyone to feel welcome and to feel that this is a place where they can ask questions and they can find the answers and talk to other players and learn about DM styles and play styles and new adventures. And I just want everyone to have a good time because that's what it's about. You know, I love going to events and meeting new faces. And it's funny because even in the 2 months that I've been part of the team, I'm already recognizing, you know, faces from interacting with them on Facebook. And I'm actually really looking forward to eventually hoping to meet them in person someday. Yeah. So we got to work out those vacation days with the day job. I'll get there eventually.
If only we could all do this full time.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'd say that's probably one of my favorite parts of being a community manager is interacting so much with the people in an online space. And then you go to their local con or maybe one of the big cons where everybody congregates. And people will make a point to seek you out to say hi because they talk to you so much. And then you get to meet them and then you have like, that's really, really cool. It's one of my favorite things. All right. So I feel like Detect Thoughts kind of summarizes a bit of your approach and part of what you bring as a community manager. How did that come about, and what is your goal for Detect Thoughts? And actually, for folks who maybe didn't tune in last time and may not know what Detect Thoughts is, what is it?
Detect Thoughts is a sort of regular, because I haven't settled into a schedule yet, update that's it's going to get posted to the Adventures League website. And it's going to round up some of the information and questions that are shared on our social media channels. So some of it's going to come from Facebook, some of it's going to come from Twitter, or it might just be conversations that the admins have and our behind the scenes chat. But if we have to issue some rulings or update some guidance, we're going to I love lists. I've got Excel spreadsheets all over the place. So I keep a list of things like new information that I think is helpful for the community to have. And it's going to be published on our website so that you don't have to have a Twitter account or have a Facebook account to access it. So eventually, and I think, Alan, when you did the latest content catalog update, you actually pulled some of the information that we had sort of condensed in Detect Thoughts. So in theory, it's all going to get updated and added into the existing campaign documentation. We don't necessarily have a timeline for when it all gets folded in, but it's going to be a resource. It's a single Google document link that I'm just going to keep updating new versions to. Print it out, stick it with your AL stuff, keep it handy.
Yeah.
We're getting some questions for you in the chat. And you did sort of answer this one, but maybe we can just clarify for folks. Someone was asking, well, first of all, a lot of people said Detect Thoughts is a great feature, super helpful. So that's awesome. But one person asked, oh no, where did the question go? Oh, who exactly answers the questions on Detect Thoughts? Is it like Sage Advice or the AL frequently asked questions?
A lot of those come from the admin team ourselves. And if it's something that a community member answers, we'll just make sure everything's correct and put it in one place. So it's not necessarily just me or just Alan or Travis or Lisa. Right. So because we all sort of take hands in hanging out with the community and the groups and fielding those questions. So if it's something that we feel like, okay, this should get hashtagged as a ruling or hashtagged as an update to the FAQ, I'm slowly going through, I think I've made it back to July of this year, working backwards, going back through the old hashtag rulings and FAQ editions to make sure nothing's been missed. So it's a little bit of everyone. It's not just me answering questions, because a lot of that is I have 2 months on the job and don't necessarily have the confidence to be answering all of them myself.
So
it's a lot of questions.
Yeah. So to tech spots, Amy does a really good job of sort of like curating or collecting what everyone else is saying and putting it into like a succinct little answer for you all to consume. All right. So now that you've made this transition to being an admin, and I guess you've been doing it for a couple months now, what is it like being on the other side of the curtain? Has it changed how you view the Adventurers League at all?
I think so, but it sort of just made me more excited because, being a player, like, oh, everyone can sort of speculate on what's going on, what the new adventures are going to be, and sort of being part of that process and being able to shape sort of how things progress it's a very incredible, powerful feeling, and a little surreal at times. But no, like it's sort of more of the same, but on a bigger scale. There's more people I get to interact with. There's more players that I get to meet, and I get to check out some cool, modules before they go live. And it's more of the same, but in a good way.
That's cool. Has anything surprised you? Like you thought, this is how I bet the admins do things, and now you actually see how the cooking is made.
It's a lot harder to, I think, I guess I didn't realize how much time that is spent just doing so much. Like the admin team has so many things going on. So it's not just that we're sitting on Facebook, like ignoring your questions or something, there's, we're writing adventures and editing and keeping track of things. And like, I don't know, like, it's not that I didn't think there wasn't anything going on behind the scenes, but now I know how much is going on behind the scenes. So cut us some slack, internet. I can vouch. They're doing some good work.
All right. So now, if folks have questions for Amy in the chat, we can take some of those. Our excellent mod TK is helping us collect them. Let's see. Hi, Amy. You're great. What's your favorite player-created thing you've seen so far? Maps, artwork, whatever.
As a player, I had an amazing DM who, for the finale of 414 in season 4, built the entire final set piece out of Lego bricks. That was cool. It was fantastic. And it like the roof lifted off, and it was really fantastic. There was a lot of time that went into that, so it's too bad my character died at the end.
Oh, no.
A death well earned, right?
I cried that night. That was my first character death.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was not great, but
is that why you throw badgers at things now?
No, the badgers started previously.
Okay.
Badgers were season 2.
Gotcha.
Let's see. So this one, I think the chat actually answered the basics, but maybe we can expand on this a little bit. Someone who just tuned in was asking what character you play. And I know you mentioned you're a moon druid who hits things with badgers, but do you have like a favorite story, or is there like a cool thing from your backstory that you want to share?
The short answer is no, because I usually try to stay out of trouble with that character. She's sort of like a mom type, where she just wants to take care of everyone. She wants to, she's the mom. I have a character. She's a half-elf pirate druid. Her name is Remy. She is known in my weekly group for just generally setting things on fire. And we're keeping a tally of the animals/monsters that she has ridden. I think there was a rat season 2 or 3. There was a bullet in one of the Will Doyle mods in the mines. So I think she's probably at 5 or 6 different kinds of monsters.
That's awesome.
entangled. So she's
she's
the troublemaker.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, I think we have one last Amy-specific question. And I don't know to what extent you want to answer this one, but someone has asked, Amy, how did Project Cookie Bag go last night?
Project Cookie Bag was an experience. No one died, so that's good. None of the characters died. That was.
Is that like when I say no one died, but they're still like emotionally scarred?
I hope that there were no emotional scars. I have not yet leveled up to Alan Patrick levels of emotional trauma. No. Anyone who's expecting like scary worms and death liches in any of my future AOs, you're going to be sorely disappointed. This is a unicorn. You can expect unicorns.
I can do a lot with a unicorn.
Unicorns are pretty powerful. Alan, no! Get away from that unicorn!
Well, starting next year, my next series is all Fae themed. You never know what's going to show up.
We'll see how that goes. But Project Cookie Bag was very exciting. It was my first adventure that I've written. So that's been a process in itself. So I'm learning all sorts of new things as an admin. But we'll have more to tell you in the spring.
What I can share on your side of Cookie Bag, that little bit that you've sent to me so far, there's some really good stuff in there. Your command of the environment in there is pretty good.
Well, thank you.
I giggled a few. I read it in the office, and I got some weird looks. So it's probably because I was, laughing and cackling at my desk. I work in IT. It's not that unheard of, but still, good job. Okay,
well, thank you. That is promising.
Teasing everybody. What is this cookie bag?
Yes.
All right. So, if that's it for our Amy-specific questions, if folks have general questions, we're going to transition into a Q&A section. So fill the chat with those. TK will pick those up and collect them and give them to me in a nice little package. But as we're waiting for people to type out questions, we are going to do our... oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what gather information. We're going to do our gather information DM quest unlock. Yes. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we have little quests, little sort of meta quests that Dungeon Masters can complete so that they can earn rewards as their players are earning rewards. One of them is Gather Information, which is simply watching each episode of Adventurers Wanted, either here live or if you can't catch it live in the video on demand when it's uploaded on YouTube. This month's Alan helped us pick out. And it's
totally fine.
And it is the Tankard of Surprise. So happy New Year, everybody. That is a wondrous item, a common item. It is 2 TCP to unlock treasure checkpoints. And the description is, this tankard has a stern face sculpted into one side. You can drink ale, wine, or any other non-magical alcoholic beverage poured into it without becoming inebriated. The tankard has no effect on magical liquids or harmful substances such as poison. So there you have it, folks. 2 treasure checkpoints, and you can unlock for one of your characters a Tankard of Sobriety.
Yes. New Year's is coming. We thought it was appropriate.
Yeah. All right. I see I've got little notifications from TK. So let's see what we got. First question. Do you know any AL Discord servers? I want to play some more D&D than I am now, and I don't know who has a slot for one more person, so AL would be a nice change. Okay. Well, first of all, it sounds like AL would be a nice change. If you're new to the Adventurers League, thanks for checking us out. It's really great if your like schedule makes it so that you can, you could play it like any other campaign, like with a regular group you always play with, or you can drop in and play a session here or there. So the flexibility is nice. Let's see, the only Adventurers League dedicated Discord server that I know off the top of my head is one called, I believe it's like Dungeons and Flagons.
Yes.
Am I saying that right? Do you guys know any others?
Well, one of the upsides to Discord is that anyone can spin up a Discord server. So although Dungeons and Flagons is a common one for a lot of folks to use, there are other ones out there. If you have a chance, jump into one of our Facebook groups and just simply ask if other users have links or if they have open seats in their Discord games. Because this is all gaming from home, with your webcam and your mic, whatever your schedule happens to be, there's probably a game going on somewhere. Might be in a language that you're not immediately familiar with, but there are games all the time on servers all over the world. Pop into a group and just ask for a link.
Yeah, that would be a great question for the Adventurers League Facebook group. Just like, what are online games? Or even if you really like Discord, what are Adventurers League Discords? And folks in our community will comment and let you know. All right. So next question. I understand. Oh, doggy. Sorry, I get distracted by animals really easily.
Me too. Okay.
I understand why the change was made from experience points to checkpoints for those of us that run non-AL. Oh, sorry, period. For those of us that run non-AL games as well as AL games, is it possible to have XP included in the modules for non-AL play?
That's not really something that we're looking at doing right now. We're focused on this as our deployment. Now, if you're looking for general guidelines, you can look at some of the past adventures, look at what their party level was, what the adventure was scaled for, and you can just apply those numbers. Alternately, you can always go and do the math full out yourself. We do a lot of that balancing sort of behind the scenes, but we're not really focused on publishing those numbers anymore.
Yeah, the Adventurers League, so we're very focused on what the Adventurers League folks will need. All right, so Alan, I'll let you answer this question. You answered it at the beginning, but it came up again. So for those of us tuning in now, is the Golem leather armor in Lost Laboratory of Koalish AL legal? Seems it was not in the content catalog.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, it was in our internal notes. It didn't make it into the final doc. Really, it's because we had it categorized in one way and it transitioned based on, like Amy said, our internal discussions, and we have a lot of those. The Golem armor, the flesh Golem armor from Lost Laboratory of Koalish is campaign legal. It can be found on table G. So once you've encountered it and you've unlocked access to it, it's not always on table G. It just once you unlock it, that's where it'll be located.
All right. Here's a good one. Adventurers League rules give good structure for organized D&D, but do any of you do things outside that structure for the sake of fun at your own tables? Sure.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. So I run the Fistful of Platinum stream on Saturday mornings, actually right here on Twitch. Some of the stuff that I do, I've inherited from my players. For example, I ran a game with the admins at Gamehole Con, and we had Matthew Lillard join us. And his contribution to what I'm incorporating into my ongoing game now is the call it mechanic, and that's when a character makes the final hit or they cast the spell that would eliminate an enemy from combat. Call it, describe it, what happens. And it gives my players a chance to be super narrative. It gets them further into their character, and it gives me something to build off of for future content. It's worked out really, really well. It's not part of the core rules, and sometimes the descriptions go a little bit beyond what the rules would normally involve. You'd have to see it live to kind of get a firmer grasp. But it's enabled me to have a better connection with my players. I really, really enjoyed that. Also, for combats that maybe aren't as narratively or mechanically important, like random encounters and such, I will generally run those a little more freeform. For example, if my players have a firm grasp on the flow of combat, we might just narrate our way around the table. I'll make a couple of die rolls, and we'll storytell it back and forth. I'll tell them to mark off appropriate resources, and we just move on. So we can turn what would be throwing dice for 10 minutes into a 3 or 4 minute engaging experience, and we then get back to focusing on the storyline.
Yeah, it's a good one. I guess for me, like the one specific thing I can think about right now is if I'm playing with a group of not necessarily the players, but characters who haven't met each other. or it's just a one-shot and I'm not too worried about time, like a convention time slot that's really tight, I'll ask people to go around and introduce their characters, and then say some sort of connection that they have to the character who introduced before them. So it's like maybe if the adventure starts with like a trek through a jungle or something, it kind of explains what might have happened during that trek. Is anyone else hearing a beeping, or is that just me?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's coming from. No, seems done now.
It's gone? All right, cool. Sorry, I'm wearing like noise-canceling headphones, so I'm like, is that me? What is going on? Amy, I know that you mentioned that you're a fledgling dungeon master, but has there ever been something that another dungeon master has done while you were a player at a table that stands out in your mind?
Currently, we're going through Dragon Heist, and we're actually awarding inspiration for playing your traits and your bonds and your flaws, since it's more of an RP-heavy style of game. So it's sort of on an honor system, like, but if you have a selfish character and you do something selfish, or it's sort of encouraging us to pay more attention to our characters as complex creatures with flaws and with, those sort of complexities. But I'm really, really sort of enjoying it, because it's like, okay, I might be doing this just for me and you might not pick up on it, but if I layer this here now and maybe in a couple sessions and then farther on down the road, it's sort of, it's fun to sort of build the RP heavy characters.
Yeah, inspiration is a great tool and a really flexible tool, right? Yes, like if you notice, like if people are role playing really well, that's a great thing to encourage. If someone does something like really heroic and out there, give them inspiration, and it encourages other people to try crazy things. That's a good one.
It's great to see someone receive a benefit for something they're doing at the table. I try and use that mechanic as much as I can. Really, only partially because I want to see my players do big, dumb, heroic things.
Yeah, I admit that I often I aspire to use inspiration, and I'll have like the tokens behind my Dungeon Master screen. Often I will forget. So I'll say I actually really love if there's a player at the table who's constantly like, oh, they should get inspiration for that. I inevitably end up giving that person inspiration for being my like little inspiration angel. So don't be afraid to do that, or ask your Dungeon Master if that would be helpful.
Yeah, one of the things I do for inspiration is, because I spend so much time running games in public environments, conventions and game stores and such, I'll actually hand out inspiration at the start of the game under the umbrella of, hey, everyone, you know your characters better than I do. You've earned this inspiration. Now demonstrate it, use it. And if we earn it again, I'll hand it out again.
Really cool. Here's another interesting question. Someone asks, were you guys happy with the 2018 Extra Life campaign? Anything you might do differently for next year?
Overall, I think the campaign itself has gone really, really well. From my own perspective, I would probably pre-print a whole bunch of this stuff. Printing cardstock and all that, even though I have the printer here, it's just a labor-intensive maneuver, mostly because I have a toddler and he wants to help.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed my Tressum Adoption Center for Extra Life. I think next year I really wanted there to be a place where people who can't donate hundreds of dollars to Extra Life, where they could donate. So I had like $25 donations were like kind of my baseline, and then $50 donations. And I think I need to double check if Greg has surpassed me in that too, King Greg of Extra Life. But I think I got the most number of people who donated, which was pretty cool. I think next year I might have some larger ticket items just for the folks who can. So maybe I could raise a little extra donations that way. I do have ideas flavor-wise for what I want to do. So I'm really excited for 2019 Extra Life. I can't wait. Let's see. Oh, this isn't really about the AL, but just someone asking about us, which is kind of nice. Where do you all find the inspiration for your character creation? Do you have a general idea for your character's backstory before getting into the technicalities with the available classes?
So mine usually spin out of really bad jokes that my players make, and I'll build a character around it.
I'm kind of a combination. I like doing stuff with classes that are like a little bit unusual, and I like having really quirky characters. So relatively recently, I played in a one-shot for James Introcasto's Invasion of the Planet of Tarrasques, not an AL adventure, but super fun. And I got to be level 20. And so I was like, if I'm getting to be level 20, I want to be a level 20 Moon Druid, because they can just do whatever the heck they want. But then the weird character thing I brought to it was I don't want to just play a druid. I wanted to be, instead of wild shapes being my body changing, I wanted them to be like mech suits. So then I was like, well, then I'll also be a tinker gnome. And I can make my little tinker things, but also I have a frickin' giant mech suit that could be a triceratops.
Tinker gnomes, you say? I love me some tinker gnomes.
Yeah. What about you, Amy?
I find a lot of my inspiration from pop culture. I have a hard time writing my own backstory, so I'll find a character in a book or a TV show that I've loved and try and figure out how to build a character just sort of built to fit. A couple of seasons ago, I played a Warforged in a Curse of Strahd game that I based on Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So not fully human, doesn't really understand human emotions, just very upfront and just speaks her mind, maybe not always in a good way. But I love being able to find characters in books and movies that I resonate with, and then being able to draw on those experiences. Like if I can't always on the fly figure out what I would do as that character, well, what would Anya do in this situation? So it's a touchstone, a sort of reference point. So it makes it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, that's great inspiration. Let's see. So we have 4 minutes left. We've got a lot of questions here, so I might be a little bit pickier. See which ones are like super AL focused. Here's one. I wonder if we answered this in Detect Thoughts yet. Well, anyway, I'll just ask it. Sometimes adventures include magic items that aren't listed under treasure at the end of the adventure. Specifically, Winter's Splendor has the Enduring Spellbook. Should we erase them, or should we include them as unlockables?
So that did get covered in Detect Thoughts. The Enduring Spellbook is a common magic item, and you can purchase it for 2 treasure points.
Yes.
Awesome. You should go back and read that whole Detect Thoughts article, because those are great, really helpful. Here's something we've actually been talking about behind the scenes a little bit. At least a couple dozen CCC adventures that are at least 6 months old are still missing from the content catalog and haven't been released publicly. Someone's asking about like the Baldwin Games mods from Origins and Gen Con. Ilrafon games from Strategicon and Orcon. Do we have a timeline for making sure these get properly released and documented?
So twofold answer here. One, the biggest thing I can tell you for stuff that has already premiered at a show but has not yet hit DM's Guild, talk to those show organizers. Even if you're not in that area and you want to play their content, reach out and tell them, hey, I live 1,000 miles from you. I heard good things about your games. If you publish it, I will buy it. Please publish it. That will help kind of light a fire under them. The other portion is, like Lisa said, we have been talking about this behind the scenes, along with some of the admin changes that we've got, the position stuff that we're going to be talking about as we get into January, February. We're also going to be talking about some updates to the CCC program, and timeliness is a key factor there.
All right, next question. Any thoughts to offering rewards for the weapons in Forge of Fury, similar to White Plume Mountain, since most of the rewards of Forge of Fury are evergreen weapons?
This isn't something that has really come up before. If someone creates a really compelling argument for it, I mean, there's always a chance. We'll read it and consider it, but it's not really a priority right now.
Alan, I'm not sure if this is a question, maybe you have some more details to share on, but someone asks, how many of us need to contact Wizards of the Coast to get an official log, character manager, and community platform Alan alluded to wanting earlier this week?
So, yes, there was a discussion earlier this week, and I left a comment about how much I would love to see a combined platform like this. That would bring in our ability to, do push notifications and all sorts of stuff. This is like a moonshot, right? That's what Google calls it. When you set a goal that's so high, it's practically unattainable. We have some really talented folks in the community, yes, but this ultimately becomes a Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro decision. So, it would take far more funds and time than I can personally allocate. Reach out and talk to customer service, leave them a comment. And I know we say that about a lot of different things, but the more they hear a specific comment from multiple voices, the more impactful and important that will become. I can't make any promises, and it's not that I was really alluding to anything like that. I simply left my own personal opinion that I would love to see something like that. We'll do what we can, and that's part of why we're trying to simplify so many things. But talk to customer service and let them know you're interested. Who knows?
So for the how many of you need to contact them, a bajillion is the concise answer.
I wish I had a hard number.
Yeah. Let's see. We've just got a couple more questions left. Maybe the mods can confirm for me in chat if they know whether it's okay for us to go a little over, since I think the schedule's pretty open for the holidays. But in the meantime, we'll answer the next one. Can you talk a bit about the new no progression option included in the most recent content catalog and being piloted in Dungeon of the Mad Mage? Oh, and might it find its way into broader use?
I hope so. So the no progression option is something that a small number of players asked for early in the campaign's development, even as we were launching season 1. And as we've grown and progressed and we've evolved the program, it's become more important, especially as we get into Dungeon of the Mad Mage with the tiering structure and that sort of play impact. We want to see how people react to it and how regularly it gets used in the wild. If you're using the option and you like it, if you're using the option and you don't like it, contact us. Let us know. You can hit up community@dndadventuresleague.org to get a hold of the community managers and share that insight. If you have constructive feedback on it, put a pending post up in one of the groups. We would like to see good critical feedback, pro and con, whatever happens to be out there, and work with everyone to develop a more long-term solution. Personally, much like the combined, app and content delivery system, I think we have a lot of potential here, and I'd love to see it. But really, it's not my decision to make alone. We need the community to really rally together and say we like it or we don't.
And it looks like the mods say we're good to go. So we'll answer these last 2 questions that came in. Cool. Is it possible in the future to get lower rarity items as bonus unlocks in higher tier adventures? Modules. For instance, it's hard to even get uncommon items unlocked once you're out of tier 1, and there's less options for trading them. Now the evergreen items are a thing. It would be nice if tier 2 and tier 3 modules unlocked some uncommon items in addition to their at-tier items. Interesting.
It's an interesting proposition. It's not one that we've really had positive feedback on when we've pitched it in our DDAL development cycle. If that changes in the future, who knows? Let's see what season 9 and beyond happens to hold. Your best opportunity for such interactions, though, is going to be through the hardcover adventures. You're going to get a wider variety of rewards and a more varying array of magic items.
That's a really good point. Hardcover is a good place to pick those up.
Yeah.
All right, and the last question, sort of a fun note. The asker points out that his question or their question is super important. Where can I buy the coin-sized dragons to use as inspiration? So there is actually a place where you can get them, but I will say that if you go to conventions where admins are, where a lot of us are giving those out, I will be at MagFest next weekend, and I will have a sleeve of those for folks. So it's very likely if you come and say hi to me in person, I will just get nervous and just give you one. But Alan, I believe you know of a source where people can purchase them.
I do. Yes. So Beetle and Grimm, who recently put out the Platinum Edition of Dragon Heist, if you go to their website, they have an option marked Warehouse Store. You can actually buy 3 of the Dragon coins from them. 3 of them, I'm looking at it right now, 3 of them is $10 plus whatever shipping happens to be. So if you can't make it to a show and meet one of us, there is still an opportunity. I know it is limited quantities through their site, though.
Yeah, so go check them out.
Yes.
All right, so those are the questions that TK sent along. We went a few minutes over, so thanks everyone, including Alan and Amy, for sticking with us for those extra 5 minutes. Our next episode should be the 4th Friday in January, which would be the 25th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, right in this very same place. And Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Alan, thank you for joining me as always.
Happy to be here.
And until next time, everyone, remember it is better to adventure together. Bye, guys.